think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing frogs.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go along that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got nothing.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Tomorrow, Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
the
an
Guyanese
erratic
Mikhail
detective, is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? Look, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Take down your politics.
Hi, good evening. Welcome once again to the Gildarie Freddie Kissoon show. We coming to you live on the Guyanese Critic platform on Facebook. You could also get it there on YouTube. It's also there on TBN. Wherever you are, that's the break news. Wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing, it's always a pleasure coming to you. And it's always, I'm going to jump right into it. I want to say good night to my co-host, Freddie Kissoon. And I know that we have people watching us from right across the Caribbean and North America there, and Canada, and New York, Miami, Florida, all the way down in Berbice. Don't forget our people right here in Guyana, or people who have been with us over the last month. Freddie Kissoon, it has been like just a few months, but I know that we have several months that we've been doing this. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be talking to people. I've learned a lot, and I know I've learned some patience. But the last week, I want to apologize before I give it over to Freddie Kissoon here. I want to apologize. I was not feeling good. I lost my voice completely last week. I could not even swallow. Bad flu was going around, and just happened to be in its target. I'm back. It's a little sore, but I'm so glad to be back. Freddie Kissoon said, don't come in. I don't want to be sick again. So I want to say good night to you again and hand the floor right over to Freddie Kissoon. We have a packed night. It's going to be a call-in program tonight, and we have lots to discuss.
We go to 10.
Yes, we're going until 10 o'clock tonight. So we have 1.5 hours. We're going to have some discussions, and then we're going to open the floor. It's, as usual, the people's voices that we want to hear. We want to hear your opinions. We want to hear what is bothering you. And let's try to talk about the topics that we are going to have, and we're going to tell you what those topics are. Without further ado, I want to invite Freddie Kissoon. And the numbers we're going to say, it's going to be on the screen. You're going to be able to call in. Don't call now. Call when we would have had our discussions. It's 231-2982. Or if you're in Guyana and you want to use a cell phone, you could call 637-1071. Overseas WhatsApp is the same thing, 637-1071. So let me just hand the floor over to Freddie Kissoon, and let's start the discussion. Lots of stuff happening in Guyana, and there's much to talk about.
Thank you, Leonard. The prodigal son has returned. To start on a lighter note, you said you lost your voice, but thankfully you haven't lost what a lot of people in Guyanese have lost, especially those with in a certain position to criticize and criticize without reason. You haven't lost your mind. Well, when the program continue, we're going to talk about people losing their minds. Now, how we arrive at the topics that is on your screen. The topics are Cheddie Jagan, anti-government critics. Those are the people who love to criticize, but their double standards are appalling. And of course, the devastating, the phenomenal revelations of the Commission of Inquiry into the attempted rigging of the 2020 election, a rigging process that went on for 5 months. Now, first of all, why we chose Cheddie Jagan as a topic. We had last week one of Guyana's formidable scholars and historian on the program. He's written several breathtaking books. Professor Clem Sichuran. And one of the books we featured during the interview was Sweetening Bitter Sugar, the story of Sir Jack Campbell, the Booker reformer. Professor Sichuran argued in the book, and we had the book in the studio in front of the screen for discussion, that Dr. Cheddie Jagan was not helpful in bringing about changes on the plantation, that Dr. Jagan resented the reforms of Sir Jack Campbell. After the program, days after, I got a call from ex-president Donald Ramatal, and he said to me, down the line, he would like to come back on the program and take on the contents of Clem Sichuran's book. He argued to me that it was the Booker Foundation in the UK that commissioned the book, so one would have expected that slant in favor of Sir Jack Campbell and against Jagan. If you didn't see the program, please go on YouTube and you'll see it. I did say two things to Clem, who is a friend I've known since 1980. I said, one, why should Dr. Jagan trust Sir Jack Campbell? Dr. Jagan wanted to bring about changes, and Sir Jack Campbell was a piecemeal reformer. When all is said and done, he headed Booker's, which was coterminous with Guyana. So Clem seemed to agree with that. But when we moved away from the book, I did say to him, undoubtedly in my mind, in my historical outlay, I would put Cheddie Jagan as the best politician this country produced. Clem agreed with that. He went on to say that Jagan could have been long in power if he wasn't pro-communist, etc. But I did say to him, and I halted tenaciously to that opinion, that from the time Jagan started, just examine, I have done the research, just examine all of Jagan's critics, in the political arena, beginning when I'm not talking with the PNC, and Burnham and Green. They were in opposition to Dr. Jagan, and one understand it was a fight between the PNC and PPP. But Jagan suffered a school of detractors, beginning with Balram Singh Roy. And Jagan lived to see a number of political parties were born with a number of political leaders who went after Dr. Jagan. Examine all of them, and they have faulted badly along the lines of patriotism, morality, and sheer purity of character. And that is what I am prepared to defend this evening when you call in. Look at Iyusi Kwayana today. Look at Moses Bagwan. Moses Bagwan wrote a letter 3 weeks ago referring to Takuma Ogunse as a peaceful, honorable citizen of Guyana. If I was a believer, I would have looked up to God and asked him to chastise Bagwan, because Bagwan was insulting God, but I'm not a believer. So you look at all of them. Rupert Trupnarine was one of the biggest critics of Dr. Jagan. And look what Trupnarine is today, supporting rigged elections. So We concluded our interview with an agreement between Clem and I that Dr. Jagan was the best politician this country produced. If he's not, let's have the polemical exchange this evening. Tell me who had more character and more patriotic dedication, and who fought longer for democratic foundations in Guyana than Cheddie Jagan. So that was the reason we chose Jagan as a topic. The other reason is, the other topic is anti-government critics. People that criticize the government and call for accountancy and call for transparency, and their state of affairs is opaque, is darker than the black waters of Loch Ness in Scotland. No, you can't be criticizing a government, criticizing ministers. You want transparency. And your business, your sphere of influence, your world is very, very dark and shady. Finally, the Commission of Inquiry. One of the things about the Commission of Inquiry that is extremely disturbing is the Commission said that the police was also involved in the destabilization of the Election Commission. And it quoted the then Commissioner of Police as saying some police officers went rogue. I hope those police officers are not in the police force at the present time. Those are the reasons for choosing the topic. After I hand over to Gildarie and we have our discussion, we'll open the phone lines, and we go till 10. Leonard said, Leonard, I normally call you Gildarie. Gildarie said that we have been here for a few months. This is the last program of the 10th month that we've been on the air. And we have to say, we have to warmly embrace you for the kind of response, the stimulating, saccharine response we have got from you all over wherever you are. And barring unforeseen circumstances, Guyana's enduring journalist and me, Crazy Freddie Kissoon, will be here until, I don't know. But back to the man who just returned from COVID-19, not 19, COVID-19.
Thank you very much, dear Freddie. As usual, I'm not sure why you're so surprised at the findings of that report of the COI. Let me tell you that you and I would have been there, like so many thousands of Guyanese and so many thousands of people in and out of Guyana who watched that election, how it unfolded. There could have been no other conclusion than what came out of that report. But it is good to have an official report and have a system in place and a process that was followed to being able to arrive at the conclusions, which made it very clear. This is what happened. These were the players. Of course, we know some of the people who would have played a role did not turn up at that COI. Freddie Kissoon, I am ashamed, and I keep saying this over and over, that we have a very poor opposition in this country, and it's unfair to the people. It's unfair to 218,000 persons who would have voted for the APNO-AFC coalition. It is not good. We are supposed to have a government who is held in checks and balances. I know a lot of people would be very happy there's no opposition. It's not good for the democracy of the country. I think we have to start pushing our politicians who are standing in the opposition. You cannot, especially those in parliament, you're supposed to be making laws. It's not only the government who put together these proposals for the passage of laws in this country. It has to be the opposition job as well, and they could put these proposals before the National Assembly for it to be passed and then signed off by the president to make it into law. They have some responsibility. It cannot be that you go into parliament, collecting all the food, eat the food, take pictures, and that you dress them in your fancy suit, Freddie Kissoon. Worse yet, take the people duty-free concessions, take a salary at the end of the month or whatever you want to call it, and then don't perform. Worse yet, you have a government in place and you can't hold them to checks and balances. And the reason for that is very simple. You have hit yourself out of the ballpark or out of the park because you've lost all credibility. How are you going to redeem yourself? And it cannot be that people are stealing votes. It cannot be that this government is buying out votes. It has to be that people are jaded, they're disillusioned, they're looking for leaders, and if they see one party that is in power, that is performing, they're going to like it. I've seen Irfan Ali and company walk in to different areas which are traditionally being viewed as PNC strongholds, and they're making grounds in it, and they're doing it very often. It's not just something that is for camera opportunity, Freddie. So these are things that I pay very close attention to. There's another thing that is creating a lot of debate among young people and those who are in social media. Somebody who's based somewhere in North America came here on holiday, and she was driving along the East Bank heading to the airport, and she went on a social media, I won't say rant, she criticized, and people didn't like her language. And there's a big debate whether she was right and wrong, but she took the brunt of it because people don't like people criticizing this country. But the way that she did it too, putting Guyanese people down, a lot of people, it rubbed people wrong. And it also brought into the debate the entry into this country of Starbucks, Freddie Kissoon. That is something I paid very close attention to. That would you imagine for a country that's moving forward? Let me say first of all, a country that is moving into they want to become first world. All the attractions that comes along with it, Starbucks and the Dunkin' Donuts and so on, it is welcome in this country. All the hotels, the Hyatts and everything that's coming here, we need them. It only lends to the improvement and the quality of life. It cannot be that we look, and then you look at what is happening here. Freddie, people are looking at it, but people are happy, people are spending money, and it is only good for this country. We cannot say it's only for the coffee is expensive because of $1,500. People want it. If you can't afford it, well, go somewhere else. It's simple as that, but there's going to always be a group who's going to be buying it. But enough of that. Let us open those lines. You could talk about that, Starbucks.
Hold a sec. I don't know. I'm not on social media, so I don't know who was this lady that was running on Guyana. Here is my problem. I think people are entitled to criticize Guyana, criticize society, which is a different sociological concept, criticize the government. But they must have a moral standing in doing that. When you were absent, we had a professor here, Dr. Mark Curtin. We had a man here who gave 30 years to UG, worked 30 years to UG. When he sat here and he criticized whatever, he's doing it from a moral basis. He has contributed to Guyana for 30 years. There are people in this country, accountants, engineers, students who I have taught, who have now got their PhDs and their masters that I have taught 25 years ago. When they sit down and criticize Guyana, you and I, President Ali, and Guyana must listen. These are patriots that are criticizing their country. These are people who every month for the past 25 years, taxes were deducted. These are people who driving, something happened, they go to police station, there's no vehicle, there are no policemen. These are people who endured and they stayed.
Of course, right.
But you have, I've been examining them. When I wrote for Kaicho News, I went on a research pursuit, and I examined these people who wrote a letter November the 23rd calling for Guyana to pull out of oil production. And when I examined them and their lives, these are people enjoying countries that are trillions, not millions, not billions, trillions of times ahead of us. These are people who jump in a train in the UK and in minutes they're in France, you know, Our people got to wait in minibus. You're sitting in a minibus with 22 people, and these people are calling. These people who enjoy in living in country where the fossil fuel industry has made them postmodern. And they would write a letter November the 23rd last year in the Starbuck News, calling on us, calling on Guyana, the government, to get out immediately of oil production. And you should see where they live. They live in the UK, where North Sea oil is a big part of the British economy. They live in Canada, where a pipeline from Alberta to Nebraska is being built at a length of 1,173 miles. Those are the people, we don't see them here, they don't live here. You know, I don't know who's this lady that rant, and when she's going back, wherever country she's going back to, let me say this. I don't know if this will get me into trouble with the US Embassy, but so be it. You know the kind of uncertainty people live with in the United States. You know the murder rate in that country. You know the social lot. You know any minute now we can hear a school shooting in which little toddlers are injured, and people come here and talk their nonsense. I don't know who's the lady, but ask her which country she's going back to. You know how dangerous it is. You know how dangerous it is, Leonard Gildarie, to have 5 black men in a car at 1:30, leaving a party. 5 decent black men with families leaving a party, and they passed a police patrol. You know the trouble they may be in. That, you know, when the World Cup, the next soccer World Cup is United States. You know what one of the greatest footballers that the UK produced said? They made a big fuss about Qatar, the World Cup going to Qatar. The World Cup is going to one of the most extraordinarily racist country, the most extraordinary racist country, the US. So I don't know who this lady, I didn't see it, I don't know, but I'd like to know which country she's going back to.
She's going back to the US, but let me say it. Look, Freddie Kissoon, you cannot, and let's look at a business example here. You cannot start a business now and expect to be driving a Lexus tomorrow morning. Let me repeat that. You cannot start a business now and expect to be driving a Lexus tomorrow morning, or which is a car of choice, whether it's a Range Rover or something like that. It is a time process. We only discovered oil, let's say 7 years back. Production started a couple of years ago. Where are you going to take the money? Where are you going to put it? How do you spend that money? And I keep saying it, the government got to share that money in almost everything, in the social services and infrastructural work. We had Minister Deodat in there here a few weeks back talking about how much money went into infrastructure. Should you put it in education? Should you put it in people's pension? Should you give it in a little cash grant? How do you do that? Should you take all the money and build 3 Demerara Harbour Bridge? Freddie Kissoon, we got to be very careful. Now, the same road, let's talk about the East Bank Road there. And we got to open the lines, of course. But these are things that bother you because you want to know, how is it logic? The East Bank Road is the road that leads to the sandpits. Should you build a 4-lane now? And what is that going to do for the entire traffic situation, for the transportation system in Guyana? Start building the 4-lane, which you have to get 250,000 tons of sand every month. I'm just calling figures here. How are you going to be fixing it? How are you going to be doing it? And should you fix up that road right away? How are you going to do it? Now it's in a horrendous state, but every time you fix it, 40 trucks is passing within 1 hour. So we got to be very careful. We got to be logical. We got to understand the complexity in the entire situation. I'm not saying that government should not be doing more and paying attention to all the potholes. We have many potholes in Diamonds, horrendous. But I understand it's a time-taking process. There's calls coming through. Let's go right to the calls. Go right ahead. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening. I would like to figure out why Freddie's position is so tough on the U.S. in terms of the racial inequality he's talking about. I mean, like, come on now, man. I mean, there's something wrong with Freddie.
But you could ask him. He's right here. He would answer you right away. I think he has an opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think he started out in saying, I think people.
But he must opinions. Be.
But you go ahead. Ask
the gentleman must be. The gentleman must be living in another world. What? I don't understand this question. Why am I so tough on racism in the U.S.? I honestly, with due respect to you, with due respect to you, Saul, I would not dignify that question with an answer. I mean, the amount of stuff that you can get on racism in the U.S. coming from established institutions, coming from black professors, coming from black icons, and you are telling me what?
I think what the gentleman want to ask, and I think what I know.
Well, you should ask.
No, let me don't ask. Let me ask for myself. Is there any other country in the world that is worse than America in terms of what you're talking about here?
In terms of racism,
based on your research,
I would think the ideological level of racism, the philosophical belief in racism, is greater in the U.S. than in any other country in the world. Yes, I would think so.
All right.
So, can you explain to me, sir, why every nation or every country in this world wants to come into the U.S.?
Well, I don't see the connection. Why?
Oh, you don't.
No. You want me to answer that? You are saying the reason why people want to go to the U.S. So you make that jump that they want to go to the U.S. So racism, that defeats the existence of racism. People want to go to different countries for their own well-being. For example, there is a good economy in Canada, but the Ukrainians prefer to go to the U.S. because they have relatives there. It's a better economy, etc. People make.
Okay, so they go just because of relatives. They don't come because of benefits of the country.
What is the connection between benefit? Trinidad and Jamaica have per capita the highest rate of violence in the world. Per capita, Trinidad probably leads the world per capita in terms of violence. Blackbush polled, I think, at one time about 5 years ago, lead the world per capita in suicide. What does that have to do with people wanting Venezuela wanting to come to Guyana for a better life? I don't see the connection, but thanks for the call. I don't see the connection.
Okay, two different opinions. Thank you very much for that. Any other point very quickly? We have some other calls.
No, I wanted to say a few things, but you know what? I'm a little emotional. I'll back up.
No. I know it's two opinions, and that's all right. And that's what this world is about. We could have different opinions. Thank you, sir.
Take care, man. Bye.
231-2982, 231-2982. You could call that if you're in Guyana. And of course, if you have a cell phone and you want to make your inputs, it's 637-1071. The numbers are up on the screen. You can also WhatsApp call us if you're abroad or locally.
Leonard, I must say, for somebody to come on the line and say why are you so thinking about the way it says? I know. Why are you so thinking about? I mean. There's like somebody saying, why are you talking about Trinidad and violence? It is a fact. It's a very violent country. Per capita, it's perhaps the most violent country in the world. But that doesn't mean Trinidad. That doesn't mean there aren't other good things about Trinidad.
Yes, let's go. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, sir. With regards to the lady from the USA who badmouthed Guyana. As Guyanese who's been living in Canada for some 50 years now, I just want to say she's not speaking for me. I think one of the things which you fail to realize, describing the East Bank Road and some whatever derelict buildings as she called them, most of those, or almost all of them, are private buildings. So how is that a government's problem to renovate or build better building there? And like you said, you can't start a business today and expect to drive a Lexus in the morning. It doesn't go that way.
No, it takes time. America is 200 years old. Guyana is what, 50, 60 years old? That's what it is. You got to be realistic about it. We can't get apples and oranges you compare in there. And I think people don't...
Yeah, because...
Yes.
They don't realize it. I've noticed it a couple of times when I came home over the last couple decades that a lot of Guyanese, I'm not saying this feeling proud, I'm saying this somewhat ashamed. A lot of Guyanese, they go back home and they compare Canada, for example, where I live, to Guyana. You don't compare lemons to oranges. You don't. There's absolutely no comparison.
But Freddie has raised this issue over and over. A lot of these countries, the UK, a lot of the European countries, France, Spain, use the monies that they got from the slavery, the slave trade days, and
from
so
exploitation
on,
of
exploitation. They build their country. They build the country. So you cannot leave that out of the equation.
And they're still doing that.
Right.
They're still exploiting the third world.
Yeah. And the guy from, I assume, the States just now, right? When he's speaking of racism, has he ever looked at racism in the Nordic countries? Places like Norway and Finland?
No, sir. So listen to me. Don't talk. I mean, that guy's entitled to his opinion, but I really didn't want to entertain him. I would have entertained him in many issues, but to entertain him on racism,
he has his opinion. He has his opinion. He's looking here, and that's okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming through, brother.
No problem, much.
God bless. Bye-bye. So let's hear those local calls. Where are local folks at 231-2982? 231-2982. Freddie, just a pass in front of Amazonian Wild. This thing amazes me. My office is right across the street. And the traffic has increased. Taiwan is smart. The traffic has increased tenfold. And it's unbelievable because of one Starbucks operations. Good evening, caller. Hello. Good evening, caller. I think we lost that call.
The volume is on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we lost that one there. 231-2982, or you could call us on 637. Okay, yes, there's a call coming in. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm calling on the government, the ministers, to please visit Fowls East Coast Amarara.
Fowls?
East Coast Amarara.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling on the ministers to please visit our area.
What is this problem in that area, sir?
You know, since the election, you never come and visit the area to see what's going on in the area.
Okay, and you want to see, Fowls.
Fowls next to Enmore.
Right, that's correct.
That's Mr. Freddie.
Yes. What are some of the problems that you have there? But I think what you complain is not so much problems. You say you want to see a representative.
Because the road is bad, the drainage is bad.
Have you raised this matter with the NDC? I'm curious.
Brother, let me tell you. We having NDC people or the CDC people, nobody listens to you.
Could you send us some photographs or so? Maybe we could probably send
it. I don't have a smartphone. I'm 6-7 years of age. I don't have a smartphone. Let me be speaking to you.
All right, no problem. I'm going to ask Freddie, maybe myself, and as the representative.
Get that to one of them. They come into the area and visit the people. They come in at the area sometimes, but they don't stop and talk to the people, the residents. They go to back where the people, where the CDC people are.
All right, no problem.
Thank you very much, sir.
We raise with them. Same to you, sir. Bye-bye. A good night to the folks down in Enmore and Fowls on the east coast of Demerara. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Yes.
Hi there, Gildarie. How are you?
Pretty good, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay. I have a problem with Mr. Norton's standards of I would like to comment on something with Mr. concerning Mr. Norton, Aubrey Norton. I noticed Mr. Norton have one standard for his party and another standard for the PPP party. I'm not a PPP guy nor a PNC guy. I'm just a neutral guy.
Sure. And what are those standards that you talk about? Examples, very quickly.
Okay. So Mr. Norton, concerning recording, Mr. Norton have one standard when it comes to a reporter recording his one of his comrades from his party, recording them concerning the concerning interview. But he have another standard concerning when Vice News was interviewing the President Jagio, Mr. Jagio on the cover, right? So he have one standard. He said it should be illegal for journalists to record someone without their knowledge. But he have another procedure and another way of thinking that it should be legal for when they're
Right. He contradicts himself.
It's not only him. It happens. If you read the Starbuck News editorial today, Saul, if you're still on the line, these double standards are. You have to hold Guyana together, else these double standards are going to destroy Guyana. I did my research and I found the Starbuck News 7 times. Listen, Saul, 7 times. 7 times in the editorial mentioned that Dr. Vincent Adams should not have been removed as head of the EPA. They said that while Mr. Vincent Adams, and I think he still is part of the leadership of an opposition party named the AFC. 7 times they said a man who is in the leadership of the AFC should retain his position as CEO of the Environmental Protection Agency. Yet in today's newspapers, they're asking how a lady that is a permanent secretary could be going away out to Guyana on party business. So Vincent Adams, it's all right for him to head the EPA and be part of an opposition leadership. But this lady that went to China as a permanent secretary on party business, that is wrong. That's clear double standards. Why? Yes. And these are the kinds of things you see every day in civil society. Civil society criticize. Look, unless we hold this society together, people like those kinds of double standards are going to destroy this place.
Exactly.
And that's a very good point there that you have raised there.
And it's always the PNC accusing the PPP party of racism. They always shed their racism under the carpet, but they always their racism historically, and always come forward to accuse other people of racism.
Yeah, I got it. Yep, very clear. Well, thank you very much for coming through. Point taken.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, guys.
Yes, could you please take off whatever you're listening to there, so we don't have any feedback.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I'm calling from Toronto, Canada. I have a suggestion, Leonard.
Sure.
You see that northbound lane on the East Bank Road? Why don't you? What do you think about putting up a toll booth there for those trucks? Guys are escaping and scot-free and not paying any. They're not paying any toll or they don't give a damn on the damage being done on the road. What's your suggestion?
I think let Freddie come in first, and then maybe.
You see this thing about a toll for those trucks? They are very, very wealthy companies that have trucks that are breaking up the roads, and those roads have to be financed by taxes from poor people like us. Do you know Water Street? Water Street was redone 2 months ago. Go outside of further down. Further down, and you will see what has happened to Water Street. What's the name of that There's a company there. Water Street is being broken up again after 2 months.
To have contractors building road without warranty, Fred.
All you have to do is put a toll on those trucks. Water Street will have to be redone again. Just go outside of BK.
I don't know.
I use Water Street all the time because I'm always
it's going to be a nightmare. Let me tell you, this afternoon I went down, and this is a very critical topic that should be discussed. I was down in Kingston, and I put up into a barrier around by GCOM headquarters there. I don't know, I think there was some statement that there was some protests, and so the police erected some barriers. Now, that one action by the police on doing that has diverted traffic, and I can't tell you the madness through the side streets.
Oh, that happens
through Barrack Street and all those kind of things. Now, we don't have the kind of infrastructure yet, and I think the government, there was some talks a couple of years back about those toll booths that they're talking about, or at least some scales along the highway. The problem that you have with that,
just remind Freddie, I have the shipping company on David Street. That's mine.
Hi there, man. I didn't notice you.
Freddie,
you're still blocking up traffic in David Street.
How you doing, brother?
I haven't seen you in ages. I think the last time I saw you, we were at
I'll come check you out next week, man. I'll come check you out. I enjoy your show. You guys are amazing.
This guy owns a shipping company.
I think I know.
And every time he meets me, I tell him about the traffic.
No, but all right. We thank you for coming through. We're gonna have our
Ghana is beautiful, man.
It's our country. We have to protect it.
Are you listening to me before you go? Stop blocking up traffic in David Street. Remember, I always tell you that.
Fred, you're bad to me. Hey, why don't we put 2 traffic lights there, Fred? 2 traffic lights to ease the congestion, sir.
I think they need to make David Street a one-way. They have now expanded.
You're a genius.
They need to. Anyway, thanks for coming.
Why don't you bring me when I'm in town next week and let me talk about barrels into Guyana?
Okay, listen.
Good knowledge.
Okay. Take my cell number, 614.
I get your cell number.
All right.
Don't worry, I have your cell number.
You come on the program and we'll talk.
Right. Thank you very much for coming through, boss.
Anyway, guys, good I take care, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye. But Freddie, this gentleman has raised a very fundamental point. This country is not ready yet, not only because you're going to put at disadvantage some small companies or individuals who have trucks, but the problem that you have to have an integrated road system in the end, transportation system in terms of roads and so on before you even think about that. Because the same road that you're going to be fixing up back is the same road that the trucks are going to have to drive in. And so when are you going to do that? I think when you have a road that's parallel to the East Bank Road that runs to Timeria Highway, you could look at upgrading this road and then put that into place. If you start putting toll booths along the place there where the trucks are going to divert, you're going to see U Street in the area to start driving through U Street. You know what happened to my 7th Avenue in Diamond there? They block off all the area. My area from the new highway, everything comes through 7th Avenue. You know how much holes in it? How much holes in it? So it's 231-2982. It's a upcoming call. Yes. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Freddie and Gildarie.
Good evening, sir.
I do not understand. I'm a 74-year-old man from Quarantine, and all my life I know we had one road from Quarantine to the airport. Now we're trying to build roads, and we got traffic, and we're complaining.
I don't think I understand what you're saying there. We had one road from Quarantine.
Now we're saying we got many more roads.
Right.
We're still complaining.
From Quarantine to Georgetown to the airport.
Right.
Good. Now the country is building roads. The government is building roads left, right, and center. Bypasses and all these things take time, but we're still complaining.
It doesn't happen overnight, but you got to understand the volume of traffic.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, you got to understand it's at least 10,000 vehicles are being registered each year.
Right, exactly.
Each year.
Exactly.
I need a new car.
Until 2025, before before we can get off that East Bank Road.
No, it's going to take. I think we need another 3-4 years before you could solve some of the issues. The good thing about it is that the government has done some. I think some of those configurations of the bypasses that they have along the East Bank is a good example. There's one going across the river.
But we complain, especially the people overseas, like that TikTok lady 952 that talking a lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense. How much money they is work for? How much money they is work for in America? If you're making $100 a day, I hope she don't get no education.
I hope she don't get robbed in the subway.
Work 6 days a week. For $600. You do it 4 times, it's 24. How much they paying in rent? How much they paying in rent and transport?
Bro, people talk about love in this country. Let me tell you very clearly. People talk about love in this country, Freddie Kissoon, but their action contradicts those words that come out of the mouth. If you so love this country, how do you do it? Do I batak Freddie? Do I batak the country? Well, what do I? So my country is the greatest country.
But even if you're bataking the country, you're bataking it from a position of strength. When you're a farmer the past 40 years, when you're an engineer working, not these clowns.
Yeah, but I can have constructive
not these clowns who live outside, enjoy fossil fuel industry. There is
so here is what she did, Freddie. You don't have a social media.
No.
The lady goes and said this I'm not going to call it this effing road and this whatever it is road and these people, and she goes on and on and on. You could have constructive criticism, intelligent discussion.
She's reading what is happening in the subways in New York. People don't want to ride the subway in New York.
Another girl from Guyana just cut her out today because she keeps making these videos.
No, we got to be very careful. We got to uplift the country. If you don't,
who's this lady? You can't put her on the screen.
No, you don't want to go down that way.
Maybe you don't want to go down that way. That's what journalism
there
is
are
about.
many people like her who want this country to. I believe deep down she wants this country to do better. Her way of doing it is totally wrong. Totally unacceptable.
She wants this country to go better.
No, you cannot. Yeah, you cannot have those kind of conversations.
And living in the U.S. and using New York subway.
You can't do that. Let us lift our people up, Freddie Kissoon. This country is doing well.
You don't know how I haven't recovered in terms of my psyche about a group of people writing a letter, well-to-do middle-class people that say we must get out of oil.
Don't bother with that, Freddie. Don't bother with that. We talking about the ordinary people, Guyanese that coming back to Guyana and complaining. Like if they're doing...
All right, thank you very much for coming to this, sir.
Like if they're doing the world better. I'm just showing you some numbers.
All right, thanks.
They make $100 a day, and they want to compare it with people in Guyana salary.
All right, good. We got another call on the line. Thanks.
Thank you for coming through there. Good night, Borbis. Good night. Bye-bye. Good evening, caller.
Good evening. I'm calling because I watched the show and I wanted to hear Mr. Kissoon's view in relation to a report I read recently where they were talking about the claims that we've been seeing surfacing of signatures being attached to candidates' lists and signatures being forged. Now, in the report, it was saying, I heard GCOM, well, I read that the Commissioner at GCOM had said that so far no one has come forward to her. And then I think the legal advisor at GCOM was saying that insofar as the cases, or if cases are brought to them, there's nothing that can do, and that all that will happen would be that the name would be invalidated on the list, and the candidate would be told that you need to come make corrections, and that the Secretariat itself could not take actions to ensure the cases of where that happens will be investigated by the police. I'd like to hear Mr. Kissoon's view on this, because to my mind, it seems as though the entire infrastructure, or at least as far as this is concerned, supposedly encourages fraud. So I'd like to hear Mr. Kissoon's view on this. Can he share his view?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you. Bye.
The head of GCOM, Justice Carter Singh, said no evidence has been presented to her. Now, you have quoted what another GCOM official has said. But for me to comment on that, I would like to see the evidence produced. There are countless social media outlets. I would classify both so-called independent newspapers as leaning more against the PPP government. When it comes to the Kaicho news, I think it will be a gold mine for them to take that evidence and put it front page. My comment will follow when I see the evidence. I am weary, sir. I am tired. I am frustrated of the opposition party and the surrogates that make claims and we don't see no evidence. Up to today, I have seen no evidence that the PPP has rigged the 2020 election. There is a man named Henry Jeffrey, and he said there was massive rigging of the elections in every region, over 30%, except in Region 8, in which the rigging was 18%. No one has published those irregularities. I will wait to see the production of evidence of proof that they are fictionalized, fraudulent names on the list. And I would advise those who making those claims as soon as possible to get the evidence out there.
Freddie, and I don't understand. I keep seeing this argument over and over. You voted in 2020? Mm-hmm. Very good. In all the regions, as far as I'm aware, I'm not aware of any polling station in Guyana which does not have 1, a GCOM official, 2, police, 3, representatives of political parties. Now, if you have that, are you saying that every time you go into a polling booth, people out there don't know, 1, you call out a name, Freddie Kissoon, Leonard Gildarie in the house, and then somebody take off, all the political party take off. Now, if you have somebody voting there, that ain't supposed to be voting, how they appear there? How you rigging this election? How you putting 5,000 people who are rigging the elections here? That makes sense to you? Freddie, makes sense out of that.
I will make sense out of that after.
You're right.
After the caller.
Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. You go right ahead.
Yes, buddy, the big on this program, Freddie Kissoon program and Gildarie. Oh, buddy, this Guyana here. Well, a big issue with NIS people pay, and when they go now, with something that not ever register and our country never send in a claim, and when they get sick leave claim and things that's what I mean. The Minister of Labor and then the Jagan or Africa Company program and talk about these things, a very, very big issue throughout Guyana. Remember me talk with you the idea and it was cardio.
Thank you very much. We did, I think it is that a senior official within the Ministry of Finance reached out to me, and he says that he is going to pave the way for the senior officials within NIS to appear in this program. We have been received among the top complaints. It's NIS and taxes and the state of our roadways. So NIS is next on the agenda. I'm going to make arrangements starting this weekend for as early as possible for those officials to be here.
Well, thank you, buddy. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye. Good evening, caller.
Sure. Hello.
Yes, good evening. Go right ahead.
Hi, Mr. Gildarie.
Yes, it isn't Freddie.
Oh, Mr. Gildarie and Cheddie.
Yes.
About that lady that went to Guyana and was returning back to America. She had some good points, but I think every 3 words she spoke, she was using the F word. I don't know what part of Guyana she came from, what part of America she's living in. Because if you go in America and see how some people are living, it would hurt your inside. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You better, this caller better be careful. A man just call and say, why am I talking about racism?
But even in Queens, you drive through some parts of Queens, the roads are worse than Guyana. Trust me on that. I can tell you about that. If you don't know what you're doing.
I am saying, unless I am reading things from a newspaper in Timbuktu, I have relatives, very close relatives in the US. It's with a heavy mind. You have to use the New York subway. Do you know what the New York subway become? People have been raped there, and others are watching and afraid to, you know what the New York subway has become? What is this lady? Look,
They rob you right in the subways because
I'm reading about that.
underground subway, when you have to come, and when the train stop, and then you have to walk up to come up there.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much for coming through there, sir, and all the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good evening, caller.
Hello?
Yes, good evening, please. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. Freddie and Gildarie?
Yes, it is.
Hey, good evening again.
Yes.
I'm looking at the program and enjoying the program.
Sure.
I have a little comment today comparing with the trucks and breaking up the roads and so on. The trucks breaking up the road, yes. If the contractor ain't do a good job, the truck got to break up the road. The trucks, them, pay a lot of money when they're being imported into this country.
That's correct. The people got to make some money.
And collect money for 40-ton truck and make road for 20-ton truck. Please.
Yeah, it has to. You have to build the roads accordingly. But which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I think we start in some way. We have to pay attention to that. People complaining.
I'm just saying.
Right.
You can't collect money for import duties for 40-ton truck and making roads for 20-ton truck.
Thank you very much. I think finally somebody's putting it in context.
All right. Don't go. I want to ask you a question before you go off. You listening? Are you there?
Yes, Freddie, I'm still here.
I heard the dogs barking in the background.
I'm hearing you.
I heard the dogs barking in the background. Those are your dogs?
Yeah, my dog.
And they're being treated nicely, right?
Yes.
No offense.
Yes.
I'm a big animal lover.
Freddie eyes get busy and he's go off track sometimes when we hear about animals.
Freddie and little one is walk for the seawall with it. I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Nice. It's my girl.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. God bless.
That's
Bye-bye.
one. I got another quick question here. The Ministry of Health does normally help people when they go for operations, especially the lower class of people, like myself. But I went to do an operation and I asked for help and I was told, yes, I can get help. Next thing you know, when the operation finished, blah, 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 they said they can't help me because it was only a couple of days before. I said, hello. There were no surgeon coming in to do that type of surgery. What do you want me to do? They're dead.
All right.
You went to have to borrow money to get the surgery done. Now, when you appeal to Ministry of Health, it's a long drawn-out story, and then they say, no, man, you all right, man.
Oh, sorry about that.
How can you, tell me, man, with a conscience,
And these are things that we have to start looking into that. Social issues, assistance from the ministries and the various agencies which are supposed to lend support, NIS. These are big issues, especially for our vulnerable.
NIS, with the same operation.
Right.
When I went to them, they break down. When they finish breakdown, they end up with 800 or something thousand. Then the hospital gave me a deduction of 200,000. Right? They discounted 200,000. So I asked the question. I said, which item did they discount it from? They can't tell me. They said, well, this is the rules and blah, blah, blah. I went to a meeting with Holly and the team and so on. In this country, we were having a 1993. 1993. The NIS had not been having another actuary done since 1993, Freddie. Are you still with me, Freddie?
I don't.
This
Okay.
is what Holly told me, the general manager.
I don't know if you watched.
There was never done an actuary done back in this country.
No, I don't agree with you. I think there's some actuaries done. I think I reported that at Kaiser News. I'm going to have to check it back. I think I want to disagree with you there.
I think that's what I was coming to say. I think there has been one 10 years ago. I think yeah.
They have been doing it. They have been doing it.
One. But we got other call on the line waiting here.
Thank you very much for coming through.
These are things you guys can look into, man. It's important for the ordinary people.
Sure, we got another call on the line. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you. Goodbye. Caller, good evening. You've been waiting for a little while. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, good night. Two things. That lady from America, you guys should not have your head about her.
Now we hot in our head, it is good to point out. You see, you have to have a discussion point. While you could criticize this country here, you could criticize, you have the right. But constructive criticism, and then you have a whole bunch of people. It sounds good. Follow the pack. Is it really good for the country?
She's no good, man. If you see the way she live in New York, it's just waste of time.
No, you don't want to go. Yeah, you don't want to go.
Wait a minute. You know the lady?
Yes, I see her actually every day.
No, let's don't have a discussion.
If she could go on TikTok and criticize the country, why should we? Our job as journalists is not to protect her.
Yeah, but but hold on, Freddie. So because somebody who lives a life, and this is where they would disagree. I'm talking here about the right to criticize. So because I live life a certain way, I don't have the right to criticize. No. But it's the way she went about it. The F and S on the
No. You're missing the point. You're missing the point.
Let me hear it.
When you criticize.
Not saying that. Leonard, listen.
Yeah, bro. Go ahead.
If you go on her Facebook page and see the amount of thing that she jump on, it make no sense. She's just a whistleblower.
I see what you're saying. Right. All right.
Good. Secondly.
Go right ahead, sir. Go right ahead. We listen.
Yeah. Secondly, Skeldon Hospital. I'm living in New York, but I have all my family in Skeldon. The hospital is not performing up to standard. And that's why the hospital tell my father-in-law to go on Google and check the symptoms and know what to use.
The hospital told your father-in-law that?
Yes.
When was this? Do you know the name of the doctor?
Dr. Ali.
How long ago this happened?
Actually, I think roughly about 3 weeks. I could get a date and get back to you. I could message you all the facts.
No, but we have to be careful. We can't make an accusation against Dr.
I would suggest in this
No.
particular case, the ministry have some mechanisms, and we would like to know every step of the way. You could be able to file a complaint, but I find it very unbelievable that an official from a hospital would say, go to Google and see the symptoms and treat yourself.
No, we got to be careful in accusing Dr. Ali of that sort. We would have to disassociate ourselves. We would have to disassociate ourselves from that remark. We don't want to get into any legal trouble.
Call me off the air. You have our numbers here.
Call you off the air because it's not one person complaining about the hospital when it comes to drugs and everything.
All right, no problem. Call me up there. You have the number there. And we're going to take it from there. Thank you very much. Bye. Good evening, caller. Hello?
Gildarie, your show is on?
Yeah, it's on right now. We're on air right now. You're live.
Yes. Can I go ahead?
Go right ahead.
Yes, first of all, I would like to congratulate Freddie for not dignifying that caller with an answer. The United States is is the most racist society on this planet. And there are certain things that Guyanese, Freddie said he don't want to run into problems with the embassy. Well, I want to say something, and it's time that Guyanese face up to these issues. You know, we talk about terrorism and domestic terrorism and all that. The United States government aided and abetted anti-Castro exiles in bombing the Air Cubana plane in 1976. Right? The culprits, the citizens that died on that plane, Guyanese, Cubans, and Koreans. And those countries tried to get the architects of that crime they attempted over the years to get them extradited, and they were protected by the United States. Come on. I mean, there must be some level of intellectual honesty here, man. I mean, these are things that everybody this is the elephant in the room that no one wants to touch on. You know? And the United States government, the United States is a bully. They bully people. Look at the way citizens are treated. Good. And if you speak out against them, you can't even get a transit visa. You can't even land muscles to get a visa. And this is what they do. And they, as Freddie pointed out, they continue to plunder and bully the third world nations, right, that have regimes that are very compliant. Walter Rodney pointed out in how Europe underdeveloped Africa. And Eric Williams did the same in capitalism and slavery. That had it not been, right, for the trade in captured Africans, there would have been no capital. Hello?
Yes, you go right there. You go ahead.
Yes. Right? Walter Rodney pointed that out in how Europe underdeveloped Africa. And Eric Williams in capitalism and slavery. That had it not been for the trade in captured Africans, right, for hundreds of years of enslavement and free labor, the Western countries, including the United States, would not be where they are today. Good. And countries like Russia and the former Eastern Bloc, they were not part of that project. They never had that. So the Industrial Revolution and what laid basis for the Industrial Revolution and what the countries in the West was able to do, the other countries lagged behind. And today now we see that the world is shifting. We're moving towards a multipolar war, and the Americans, the hegemony is declining, and they're out to pursue, if possible, a nuclear war. And that's what we face. And then we still have people calling in to defend this empire and this program. I don't believe they're living on planet Earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Caller, good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir. I'm calling from the west side.
The west side. West Demerara. Good evening, West Demerara.
Yeah, Parfait Harmony.
Yes, sir.
I got a burning concern, man.
Sure.
In connection with the postal services in Region 3.
The postal as in bills, the Guyana Post Office?
Yeah.
Sure.
The Mother Post Office. Right? The service there is very poor. You know, I think that we normally get a post girl from around about once a week. And, you know, you depend on certain mails and you can't get it. Right? I think, hello?
No, we're listening to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think with this $40,000 part-time situation, job, they should employ some postal people so they could service the area regularly. Because a lot of people, you know, come out for mail from the postal services. And the condition of the post office is terrible. I think that post office was built since the early 19th century. Right? It needs a new facelift, it needs a new building. The staff there needs to be more, you know, active and do their job.
It goes across the nation like that, almost every other institution.
If it's a post office in Parfait Harmony was a new scheme just developed. So there'll be a new building.
Where is the post office? It cannot be in Parfait. Where is it located?
Baggettsville.
Baggettsville.
Baggettsville. Okay.
So it must be a very old building.
Yes. I think I know that area there.
It must be a very old building. Anyway,
thank you very much for coming through.
Thanks for coming through.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Freddie Kissoon, but you see how people, it's simple things.
That's the post office in 1970.
No, but it's very simple things. Simple things people...
But that's what people want.
Right, for the quality of life. A man is complaining, but the state of the post office.
When we close, I'll tell you what happened to me with GT&T and post office bills, and what happened with me yesterday at the GRA.
Good evening, caller.
Yes. Gildarie.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Gildarie, I got a complaint.
Sure, go right ahead, quickly.
Yes. I have a property in Albion, in Barbies.
Mm-hmm.
Just behind Albion Sport Complex.
Yes.
And they dig up a trench that you call dragline trench.
Who's they?
I don't know. When I went to the NDC, they told me it's not them project. I went to the NDI, they said not them project. But they dig up the trench and they throw it in my property, cover up my fence.
Oh.
They cover up my fence completely.
And this is a property that you own with title and everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
And you don't know who carried out the project? You said that nobody knows.
When I went into NDC, there's a guy, can I call the guy name?
Say an NDC official, council official.
Okay, the guy.
No, but he's not making any accusation against him. He's saying he went into the NDC and just don't make any accusation, but you can call his name. But just tell us who you spoke to.
Yes, he is a person that's in charge for the NDC. So when I talked to him, hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I talked to him, he said, "Is NDIA did that?" So he swear, he put his hand to his heart, and he swear that he gonna take care of that. And it's almost or past a year. Nothing happened.
You have a very charismatic Minister of Agriculture who's in charge of NDIA and in charge of drainage, a guy by the name of Mustafa, Minister Mustafa. You may want to see him.
Well, listen, I told him, you know what I told Nandu? Mr. Nandu? I would never accept him as Mr. Nandu. I call him Mr. Landu now.
No, don't go down. Don't go down that road, man.
You know why?
Remember, we are on the air. Don't go down that road. You could get us into legal trouble. Don't go down that road, please.
Listen, he swear to his heart.
Yeah, but don't call him names that could get us into legal trouble. We are transmitting what you are saying. We are responsible for transmitting what you are saying.
That, but it's over a year now.
Okay. Well,
maybe he doesn't have the power. You need to go see the minister.
Go and see the minister.
Go see the minister.
Okay,
I promise them.
Thanks.
You know what I told them? I'm gonna take legal action.
Yeah. You better take a lawyer.
And I understand your frustration because if it's your fence, nobody can go throw things on your fence like that. I understand the frustration.
Okay.
They cover the fence and they get animal.
Okay.
I can send you a picture. I have a lot of pictures.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
okay.
no problem.
Thanks
Do that
for coming
and
too.
go see Minister Mustafa. He sees people, I think, once a week.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, caller.
Good night, Freddie and Gildarie.
Good evening, sir.
I would like to take make my contribution in regards to the forested TikTok auntie in New York. And I would like to use the term that your host for this program would normally use, and that's a very good term to describe her. She's a low-life hungry belly. No better term than that to describe her. And the second area I would like to touch on is to remind the viewers that only yesterday we had the report on the Commission of Inquiry. And if you look at that, then we're going to know who are the riggers. All that we would have seen and people speculating, there is no evidence as yet, but PNC and other political parties are saying negative about PPP. Let us look at the Commission of Inquiry. Let us look at the report and let us see who the real culprits are. That report is going to tell everyone it's out there. So everyone should get a copy. There's enough on the internet that you can look at, and then you're going to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Freddie Kissoon, the beautiful thing about it, let's take this call here. There's another call locally. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good Hey, good night, Gildarie, Freddie.
Good night, sir.
Yes, I got a major concern, my brother. This country is already running without an opposition. I would say that. Because they serve no purpose right now. And come this local government election, when they get this within here, they're going to be without a complete opposition. And a country to run without an opposition is going to get a lot of consequences behind it.
It's frightening. It's frightening. You would not believe it. It's not only frightening, but here is the one of the sides that I'm looking at it. Why am I taking taxpayers' dollars or allowing taxpayers' dollars to fund a couple of people who are enjoying duty-free concessions? I want to start there.
Exactly.
Why should I do that?
And exactly. Another thing. These oppositions are getting paid with taxpayers' dollar. When there is a session in Parliament and they don't want to hear the government speak, they walk out. They are being paid to listen and to do their job. They should get a lot of whoever walks out of both sides. Whoever walks out of Parliament does not get paid for that day. Why do they have to walk out or skip Parliament? Because they don't want to hear that person speak, or they don't want to concern in that bill. No, it's not right. You've been paid to be there every single sit-in.
Let me just make a point here. Freddie, you have a lot of experience internationally, how governance and the system works. And let's use America, because I follow America a little closely.
Okay.
Do you know how happy the congressmen are and the lawmakers are to represent their constituents, to take matters that affect them, so they could make laws and to represent them and make the necessary regulations to protect those people, because they know the next time that they go again, they're going to get the votes. In Guyana, we don't have a clue as to what or we seem not to understand or don't want to understand what is it that we're there for. Why are you going into Parliament for? To do what? To sit down there?
But it's not
the taxpayers' money and to take it
but
away.
it's not only that. Also, James Bond, who said on the program Wednesday evening, he's an out-and-out PNC supporter. He likes Aubrey Norton. And he was honest enough to say that they're not going into the villages and going into the districts.
Yes, I heard that when you said that on Wednesday.
And ask these people what's the problem. For example, that man spoke about a post office building. Looks like it was built in the 19th century. Going to Bagotstown, talk to people, and you win minds and you win souls. When you go into Bagotstown and look at the post office and you make representation, I make representation every day about things happening. I call the post office about something, and it was corrected the next day by the postmaster general, who is a lady. Now, why don't they do those things instead of every day talking about macro? They can get support if they go and help people with their problems.
The man said does not have the technical skills to deal with these.
No. I don't agree with that. It's not the technical skills, bro. If you were so clever enough to go and stand on a platform and campaign, I think the people would have believed that you had the will to want to represent them. You don't have to be the most educated person, but you could have eloquence in your heart that you want to represent them. Why you want to represent them and you don't want to do it? But you collect the money and you sit down and eat the food. You got to call them out.
But it's very frightening because we're going out of an opposition. After this local government election, we don't have an opposition, and I don't want it. God forbid it. This country becomes a country under Burnham time, when you had no opposition. So I only hope that we doesn't end up in that situation, in a dictatorship.
If the opposition people are listening, Gildarie, one of the things, I am totally anti-Trump. I hope that man never comes back ever again. But what's one of the qualities every human should admire in Trump? And it's a quality all humans should have. Trump have convictions and beliefs, and he's prepared to defend them. He's prepared to say, this is what I believe in, and he would go in any forum and defend what he believes in. How many of these opposition parliamentarians have promised me up to day before yesterday that they will come on this program and speak? At least Aubrey came here and defended what he believed in. You know how many opposition parliamentarians have promised me, including day before yesterday, to come here. Here is 1 hour. They have 1 hour free.
You tell me why they won't come. Why is it?
Because they don't believe in their conviction.
But hold on, you've raised a fundamental issue there, sir. And I never really thought of it that way. But I'm just thinking, you just have a one seat that placed you in opposition. Doesn't it give you a chance of saying you could get back in government? Forget what played out in 2020. Let's say a forward-looking party, a party that believes it can win again. But it means one or two things. Somebody don't have ideas, or they believe that they did so much wrong in 2020, they'll never stand a chance, at least within the next 20 years, to go back in government, which is also very frightening. Very frightening.
For sure, they know that they don't have a chance. Trust me, they know that they will do all of these, bring all these kind of lies and all sort of things to fool the Guyanese people. They know that they cannot get back into power. So they will try to defend themselves.
All right,
anyway,
thanks.
as I get through with you guys, I just want to share something with you guys.
We got another caller coming there.
Okay, go ahead.
Could we move on? Yeah.
Thank you, my brother.
We want to give as much people possible.
Right. One last call. Let's go right there.
I think
Good evening, caller. I'm being told, Freddie, just about 2-3 minutes thing here. Let's go very, very quickly. Anything else you want to have a discussion?
Well, I wanted to say two things happened. And when I first met the President Ali, I did say to him, people just want to have services. GT&T did not send a bill to your email. They normally send the bill, and they normally send the bill through the post office. We didn't get the bill through the internet. The post office brought it days after they disconnect us. That was a hassle, Secondly, 15 years ago, I wrote about the GRA, that they identify places where you can take in your PAYE, and when you go there, there was no one there. That happened at Ashman Building at Camp and Regent Street. Then 10 years ago, it happened at Giftland Mall. Then 5 years ago, it happened. Now they told us there are 3 parts, 3 sections that you can submit your PAYE. Post office, second floor, GRA head office, license revenue at Camp on Lamaha Street. I went there when there was no one there. And then they have a sign that says, if you have any problem, call this extension. I called it 5 times. These are some of the things that makes people life miserable, that's not necessary. My wife is a Muslim. She made a whole set of food for the homeless people because I go to Seawall every day. I was so upset, I had to go down to GRA to submit my PAYE. I had to park there by Border Market, no parking in Camp Street. And in the confusion, I forgot the food for the homeless, and it was left in the trunk. Simply because the GRA say, drop your thing at Camp and Lamar Street, and they were not there. And they did that to me, they did that to 15 years ago. These are some of the things that are so unnecessary. My wife made those Cerny and Vermicelli for the homeless people.
But hold on, you see, Freddie, and again, I think these are some very good points. You look at what the normal Joe in the street, what they're talking about. That man called from Parfait there, and he's talking about a post office. The man called from Berbice, and they're talking about roads. Another man is talking about, you understand, NIS. All these things are issues. How is it that you have a big entity of the likes like NIS, and there's not a proper way that you could really put a complaint, or even if a complaint is filed, it takes years. Imagine the president got to go to Lenora or those places across there to sit down to deal with NIS. Are we sick? Are we crazy? Is it that we don't know what we're doing? So, hold on. A place like NIS got 500 staffers. I'm putting lash on them because every day I hear complaints. Can't you hire 2 people to sing in a PR department, but because you don't have the budget for it, but you have the budget to hire 500 people? But you don't have or a budget to put a customer service desk that is going to take complaints? Don't we have that?
I think the Minister of Natural Resources saying 2025, real wealth is going to be coming in from the oil thing. And I think we're going to have huge, nice buildings, nice schools, nice hospital, but the psychology of people are not going to change. The contractor build a pavement on UG Road from the old Atlantic Highway to the railway embankment and put in the pavement, left big holes in the main road, and people are swinging to and fro to evade.
Where's the supervisor of that project and who released the money to it?
Anyway, time
you want to go?
next
I've been told that we are out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be back again after a couple of days. Freddie did a fantastic job while I was away, as usual. And I really miss you guys. I'm glad that I have my voice back. And tonight, as always, it is a pleasure hearing from you. It's a pleasure hearing from you about the things that bother our country, bother our people. And of course, we're going to agree to disagree. Freddie Kissoon, I want to say thank you very much as usual, my co-host. We're going to be back, I'm not sure, on Monday. I think Monday is a holiday.
They said Daybreak News Management informed you and I that they don't work on holidays.
Right.
We will be quite happy to be here on Monday, but
I think maybe Wednesday. Let's be back on Wednesday.
We'll be back here on Wednesday for sure.
In the meantime, you take care. Have a wonderful weekend, a safe weekend. I'm being told by my director in my company, and they were extremely unhappy with it. For the year to date, it's 50 persons. I want us to understand this. 50 persons died on our roadways this year. That is 50 persons who should not have died. I think the majority of it, a lot of people are going to disagree. They said time come. But imagine that your timing come and we on the roadway and the roadways of Guyana. And imagine that the figures are all showing that speeding was the cause of it. We got to be one set of stupid people in this country. Take care. Enjoy your weekend, folks.